There's just something inherently captivating about declassified documents, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely.
Those rare glimpses behind the veil of official secrecy, they promise to peel back layers, reveal hidden truths, especially for pivotal moments in history.
Yeah,
It feels like you're getting a direct line, almost, to how things really happened.
it does. And it's not always, one big dramatic smoking gun. Often it's the sheer administrative detail, the paper trail,
Right.
that gives you this unique, almost forensic look at how historical inquiries actually unfold. The bureaucracy itself tells a story.
Sometimes a really profound one.
Mm.
And that's exactly the kind of deep dive we're embarking on today.
Yeah.
We're sifting through newly released documents tied to the JFK Assassination Records Act of 1992.
Okay.
Now, these aren't necessarily the big sensational headlines you might expect. We're looking at the raw stuff, the granular records.
The nitty-gritty.
Exactly. So our sources today are pretty interesting. We've got a 1975 FOIA appeal memo, that's Freedom of Information Act, about a request from a John W. Donovan.
Right.
And then we're also digging into a bunch of internal agency memos, call records, extensive lists of personnel from 78. Lots of handwritten notes on those.
Sounds like a treasure trove of procedural detail.
It really is. So our mission today is basically to pull out the most important nuggets from these, let's face it, dense administrative papers.
Yeah, we want to explore the declassification process itself, understand the huge effort involved in tracking down former intelligence people, and uncover some maybe surprising insights into just the logistical complexity of it all.
Consider it a shortcut, maybe, to understanding the behind-the-scenes work.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's start with step one, the declassification puzzle. What stays hidden and why? What do these docs tell us about how secrets are kept? And eventually, maybe let go.
Okay.
We'll start with that FOIA appeal from John Donovan, December 18th, 1975. This one really shows that constant tension, right?
Yeah, the push and pull between a citizen wanting to know
And the government needing to keep things secret.
and what's really insightful here is how explicit the document is about why stuff was withheld.
Not just black marker lines.
No. The deletions were made, it says, to protect things like a proposed operational use of subject, so active intelligence stuff,
Okay.
but also names of agency employees, internal org data, individual privacy, even file numbers.
And they didn't just wave their hands, right? They cited specific laws.
Exactly. Specific sections of the FOIA itself, Title 5 U.S.C. 552, Sections B1, B3, and B6. National security, internal rules, personal privacy. It gives you a clear window into the legal thinking back then.
And here's a really interesting detail. The document shows that everything originally marked secret in this appeal was actually downgraded.
Be confidential, yeah.
So it's not just a simple reveal. It's like a layered unveiling, controlled.
It makes you wonder about full disclosure, doesn't it? How our understanding gets reshaped by these partial releases over time.
It's definitely not a simple yes or no on getting the information.
Right. It shows this dynamic process where how sensitive something is perceived can change. And you also see the practical challenges, the really mundane stuff.
Like what?
Well, like in 2 cases, records only existed on microfilm.
Oh, wow. Hard to read, I bet.
Impossible, the document says. Impossible to provide a legible copy, so they had to type up new copies.
Oh, man.
Sometimes providing both the full text and a sanitized version. It's a real administrative deep dive just to make the information usable.
That physical labor part, the typing, it really makes you appreciate the effort, or maybe just the sheer bureaucracy involved.
Definitely.
But okay, while the paperwork tells one story, these documents also show the human effort, right? Trying to connect the dots, find people. So let's shift focus. Let's look at the investigators and who they were tracking down. We're diving into that second set of sources now, those long lists, often handwritten, from 78.
Right. The House Select Committee on Assassinations lists. These show the painstaking work they did trying to gather info. You can almost picture them going through these names.
Who are they looking for? Does give specific examples.
Oh, yeah. It's a wide range of people. For instance, Richard Helms is on there, former DCI.
Director of Central Intelligence.
Yeah. Got his date of birth, retirement date, DC address. Shows the level of detail.
Wow.
Then there's E. Howard Hunt, obviously a prominent figure.
Watergate connection there, too.
Right. Listed with his entered on duty date, retirement, Miami address. And James Angleton, the big counterintelligence chief,
Legendary figure.
noted as retired with his Arlington address.
Wow.
And what's interesting with Angleton is he's specifically named as one of 4 retired former DDO officers.
Directorate of Operations. The clandestine side.
Exactly. That the Fraser Committee, another investigation, specifically wanted to talk to. So you see the overlap between these inquiries.
And what about this cover aspect? Does it explain different types of status?
It does. You see labels like retired from CI staff, which is counterintelligence, or retired undercover, still employed, even contract terminated in the field.
Retired undercover sounds intriguing. Any examples?
Yeah, there's a Roger Gabrielson, noted as retired covertly in Europe, gives a specific Belgian address.
Seriously?
An address?
Yep. And the memo warns that if they contact him, he should be approached in a different manner so his cover is not blown.
Wow.
And shouldn't be interviewed unless it is absolutely necessary.
That really makes you think, doesn't it? Decades later, the need to protect that identity persists, even after retirement.
It speaks volumes about the long-term nature of that work, the risks, and the tradecraft. We also see a contract agent whose contract ended in Mexico City in '77.
Okay.
But they'd been active for over 20 years, since '51. And looking at the sheer volume, I mean, these lists have dozens and dozens of names.
Some with full details, others?
Others just marked no record or blocked. It really highlights the huge network involved and, frankly, the challenge of compiling all that info across agencies and time.
It sounds massive, and not just domestic, clearly. These operations were global.
Absolutely.
And the documents give us a window into that too, right?
Yeah.
Like a specific connection to Tokyo. That's right. One memo lists DDO personnel again, Directorate of Operations, assigned specifically to the Tokyo station, particularly the SR branch.
SR branch.
Soviet Russia branch. During specific timeframes, it gives you a real feel for who was where, when.
Can you give us some names from that list?
Sure. You've got George A. Phil in Tokyo from 60 to 64, Robert M. Keith, 58 to 63, Peter M. Slobogin, 61 to 64, Royal Tyler, 62 to 64,
Okay.
and a Lee Rosenbaum, Tokyo, from 60 to 65. There's even a note that an interview was specifically arranged with him for April 10th, 1978.
Fascinating. So they were actively reaching out based on these lists.
Seems so.
Yeah.
And zooming out again, these docs also hint at other places. Mexico City comes up again, Bangkok, the Caribbean branch.
So Tokyo is just one piece.
Right. It really underlines the worldwide scope of these intelligence operations back then.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Thinking about everything we've just gone through with these declassified documents, what are the main takeaways for you?
Well, first, I think it's the painstaking, incredibly detailed nature of both declassification and historical investigation. It's not simple.
No, and involves a lot of redactions, even years later.
Exactly. Second, you get this rare administrative peek into the huge interconnected network of intelligence people.
Yeah, it puts faces, or at least names and roles, to the often impersonal idea of intelligence, spanning decades, different countries.
And finally, I think it just highlights the immense logistical bureaucratic challenges. Trying to piece together the past, especially with classified info, protecting sources, privacy, it's complicated.
Really complicated.
So here's a thought to leave you with. When you consider how much is revealed in papers like these, but also how much is still clearly veiled, even decades after something like the JFK assassination, what does that spark in your mind?
How do these glimpses into this silent, complex world, how do they actually reshape our understanding of history and maybe even what we consider a known fact?
Something to chew on.